Humans have always been drawn to rivers, and much of human history can be traced along our inland waterways. Welcome to River History, where each week we travel up a river and discover the history found in the cities and towns along the way. This week's episode, North on the Delaware. The Delaware River is 301 miles long, longer if you count the branches, but I'm not. Although far from America's longest river, it has plenty of historically important real estate along the way. The river, for the most part, separates New Jersey from the United States. Alright, I just like to say that to tease my cousins in New Jersey. Mostly it separates New Jersey from Delaware and Pennsylvania, especially Pennsylvania. The river empties into the Delaware Bay, which empties into the Atlantic Ocean, so there's probably a very important seaport up along the river. Now, heading north, you'll pass Wilmington, Delaware, part of a former Swedish colony. No, really, seriously, it was. Wilmington has a pretty interesting history. The DuPonts, gunpowder manufacturing, shipbuilding. Not a big tourist draw. Further north, we hit Philadelphia. Big history. Declaration of Independence, Liberty Bell, Constitution, Betsy Ross, cheesesteaks, hoagies, and America's strangest accent. Philadelphia, by the way, is that major seaport I was referring to. In fact, during World War II, a number of naval ships were stationed in the Delaware Bay to make sure the Germans didn't try to sneak up there and get to the Philadelphia Navy Yard. And also, of course, it was a huge commerce and trading center. So yeah, it's a biggie on the East Coast. But I'm going to leave the big history and saunter up along the river to some less crowded but highly significant locations. Welcome back to part 2 of North on the Delaware. As we bid goodbye to Philadelphia, we find that only a short distance north you encounter some very special river towns worth a visit. Introducing Bristol, Pennsylvania, a town that had a song written about it in the 1960s. I've never thought of pistols being particularly sharp, but they do rhyme with Bristol. This charming riverside town recently won a nationwide competition over 14,000 small towns across America to win the $500,000 grand prize for its efforts in revitalizing the town's business and waterfront area. And it shows. They built a dock for pleasure boats cruising the river that provides people access to restaurants, theater, shopping, or just a refreshing beverage. Where to go, what to do. Historic King George Inn, established in 1681. That's before Keith Richards. Is a beautiful first-class restaurant with a pub. A real pub. Pubs are wonderful. Just down the block from His Majesty is the Riverside Theater, an award-winning equity theater. Location, location, location. Now you're hungry. Go across the street, get some Mexican food, or maybe head around the corner. You would like some other cuisine? Japanese, Indian, Italian? Perhaps some ice cream for the kids. A little further up, a local brewery. Ice cream for adults. Oh, but you're a teetotaler. There's a tea room. Or maybe, just maybe, after a long day of boating in a hot sun, you say to yourself, I sure could use an art gallery right now. Well, Shazam! They've got that too. You can also take in some incredible architecture along the riverbank, if and you have a hankering for a stroll. But now let's hop in one of those boats while the owner's in the King George bathroom and cross the river to the Jersey side to the town of Burlington. It's difficult to see Burlington from Bristol as big old Burlington Island blocks the view. Burlington Island is said to be uninhabited, but that's exactly what the cannibals want you to think. Burlington is not quite the match for Bristol, but they're working on it. Burlington has some fine restaurants, a renovated Main Street with lots of shops, some cool taverns, including a fun bar restaurant right on the river next to a wharf where you can watch the local sailors return from a 3-hour tour. There's also a lovely riverfront promenade. Well, it's time to hop on our stolen boat and head north, where I'll meet you again in episode 3 of North on the Delaware.